Australia's bold move. Social media ban for under-16s. Australia is preparing to introduce groundbreaking legislation that would prohibit children under the age of 16 from accessing social media platforms. This initiative, led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, is aimed at reducing the negative impact of social media on young Australians. The proposed laws, which will be presented to Parliament next week, are designed to address growing concerns about the online safety of children. Albanese emphasized that the move is intended to support parents in safeguarding their children from the potential dangers of social media. This is for the parents who, like me, are deeply concerned about the safety of their kids online. We want Australian families to know we are on their side, he stated. Under the new regulations, children under 16 would be restricted from creating new social media accounts. However, those who are already active on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook will not be affected. Importantly, the legislation will not allow parents to provide consent for their children under 16 to join social media, placing the responsibility squarely on the platforms themselves to implement age restrictions. Enforcement will be managed by Australia's online safety regulator, the e-Safety Commissioner, rather than imposing penalties on individual users. The law, if passed, would take effect 12 months later and would undergo a review after implementation to assess its effectiveness. While many experts agree that social media can negatively impact adolescents' mental health, there is debate over whether an outright ban is the best approach. Critics argue that such measures only delay exposure rather than equipping young people with the tools to navigate the digital world responsibly. Some have pointed out the challenges of enforcing age verification, noting that existing tools can be bypassed. Previous attempts by other governments, such as in the European Union, have faced significant pushback from tech companies and have struggled with practical implementation. Australia's Child Rights Task Force, a leading advocacy group, has criticized the proposed legislation, calling it overly simplistic. In an open letter endorsed by over 100 academics and 20 civil society organizations, the group urged the government to focus on establishing safety standards for social media platforms. They reference guidance from the United Nations, which advocates for policies that ensure children can safely benefit from digital environments rather than being excluded from them. However, support for the ban is strong among grassroots campaigners. Advocacy groups argue that children need protection from harmful content, cyberbullying, misinformation, and other online risks. A petition from the 36 Months Initiative, which has garnered over 125,000 signatures, highlights the impact of excessive social media use on the developing brains of young people. The group claims that early and prolonged exposure to social networks is contributing to a mental health crisis among adolescents. Addressing concerns about alternative strategies, Albanese dismissed the notion that education alone could counter the influence of powerful tech companies. He pointed out the risks posed by algorithms that promote harmful content, stating that even adults struggle to avoid such content, let alone vulnerable teenagers. This legislation marks a bold step in Australia's efforts to create a safer online environment for children, sparking a critical conversation about the balance between digital freedom and safeguarding mental health.